Welcome to the special broadcast on DD India, the great Indian election. In the year 2024, democracy's health will be tested across the globe. On the show today, we take a look at why Chhattisgarh matters as India decides in 2024. Well, Chhattisgarh in central India was formed out of Madhya Pradesh to become India's 26th state. It is also known as the Rice Bowl of India. The Hindi heartland is India's 10th largest state and a major producer of energy and steel. Let us understand why Chhattisgarh matters as India decides in 2024.
Chhattisgarh, the landlocked state in central India, is known for its lush green stretches of forest covers, breathtaking natural beauty, diverse tribal heritage and rich mineral deposits. Home to people from 42 different tribes, the cultural life of Chhattisgarh comprises varied forms of traditional art and crafts, tribal dances, folk songs, regional festivals and fairs and amusing cultural fests. In fact, Chhattisgarh's Dhokra art, inspired by tribal themes of animals, mythical creatures, human creatures, natural shapes, etc., is now quite popular beyond the borders of India. Spreads over 135,000 square kilometers, the state is also known as the Bowl of Rice, as the region grows over 20,000 varieties of rice. Chhattisgarh shares its borders with 7 Indian states. Originally a part of Madhya Pradesh, it was carved out and granted statehood on November 1, 2000, with Raipur as its designated state capital. With 11 seats in the Lok Sabha or the lower house of the Indian Parliament, Chhattisgarh is going to the general elections in 3 phases between April 19th to May 7th. The state's 20.5 million registered voters are ready to exercise their electoral duty. Out of the total number of voters, 10.1 million are male, while about 10.3 million are female. About 732 voters are from the third gender category. The state is currently governed by the Bharatiya Janata Party, which bagged a majority support in the state elections held in December 2023. The major parties in the state are the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Indian National Congress. The other political parties which have been contesting in the state as well as national elections here are the Janata Congress Chhattisgarh, Gondwana Ganatantra Party and the Bahujan Samaj Party. In the 2019 general elections, the Bharatiya Janata Party won 9 seats with a vote share of 51.40% and the Indian National Congress bagged 2 seats. In the backdrop of a dramatic comeback in recently held state elections by the BJP, all eyes are keenly looking forward to the general election contest when arch-rival Congress and BJP once again lock horns in a 2-party fight. Antara Sinha for DD India.
Chhattisgarh is an interesting state. Remember, there are just 11 seats in Chhattisgarh or 11 parliamentary seats that exist or that are in Chhattisgarh. But Chhattisgarh has voted across 3 phases. There is particular reason for that. First, Naxalism, a lot being reduced. But if you see the first phase of election, Chhattisgarh in the central part of India, carved out of Madhya Pradesh. The first phase, there was a single seat of Bastar that went to polls. In the second phase, you had 3 seats. The last and final, that's phase number 3, that's where you have 7 seats. And that's why Chhattisgarh becomes interesting from an election point of view. Now, this is the third phase where the election is going to be fought. The 7 seats, Korba, the seat that Congress won along with Bastar, that's interesting to look at. All other seats in the region have been won by the BJP. But it's an interesting combination purely from a perspective of how this time around the BJP along with the Congress both have fielded new faces. We'll take a closer look at the 7 seats, and how they play out in this election. A look at history when it comes to Lok Sabha elections and how elections after elections have played out. 2014, you had BJP winning 10, Congress winning 1. 2019, a slight shift. Congress managing to go to 2, BJP very confident there on 9 seats in Chhattisgarh. Vote share, much better than the national average that you see in 2019, 67%, 71% in 2019 in elections. The national average was 67. Assembly elections, there's been a huge turnaround there for the BJP from 68 in 2018. I think we've got the numbers wrong here. The numbers are upside down. From 60, the Congress managed to retain power in 2018. The Congress had 68 seats. The BJP had 15. From 15, BJP has jumped to 54 in 2023. The assembly elections that got over in November, the state has a new chief minister. Voting percentage, again, a 0.5% that you would see from 2018 to 2023. But then when you compare it with the Lok Sabha elections, there is almost a 5% jump in the assembly elections in Chhattisgarh. The big seats that we are looking for, keen contest, Korba, a Congress bastion that Congress continues to win. The Congress replacing its candidate there in this particular seat. BJP National Vice President Saroj Pandey being pushed from Durg this time around to Korba, and that makes this Korba seat pretty interesting for both the BJP as well as the Congress. Surguja, another interesting seat. This time around, this is a seat that the BJP has been winning time and again since 2004. This time around, you've got two candidates there, Chintamani Maharaj from the BJP taking on, Shashi Singh from the Congress. And this becomes an interesting battle for the simple reason, 20 years BJP's never lost it. The last time BJP managed to win it was in 2004, and then that winning run has continued for a very long time. Moving to our next seat, that's Raigarh. Raigarh is another interesting seat for the simple reason you've got Radhesham Rathia once again, looking for his third term to Lok Sabha from Raigarh. The challenger here is Dr. Menka Devi Singh, who's representing the Congress, and the BSP here making this contest triangular, but it's primarily a bipolar or a linear contest in Chhattisgarh that you see between the Congress and the BJP. Moving to the next seat, Bilaspur. This seat is even more interesting for the simple reason the last time BJP captured it was way back in 1994. And from 1994, it's a BJP stronghold, which means for 28 years, this seat is with the BJP. And you've got Tonkan Sahu there taking on Devendra Yadav for the seat of Bilaspur. Our final seat that we are looking at is Durg. And Durg is interesting for the simple reason, this is from where once Saroj Pandey fought elections, as I mentioned, but Durg this time Vijay Baghel taking on Rajendra Sahu from the Congress, and this could throw some interesting numbers for us. As voting day, that's May 7th, gets over, we could see some interesting numbers that could be thrown up in these elections from Chhattisgarh. There are just 11 seats, 3 phases we've seen elections, but elections that could go down to the wire. Remember, bipolar elections are very interesting to cover because it's either this way or that way, but it's a keen contest, but BJP clearly holding the edge in Chhattisgarh. Well, time now to take a look at lots more happening in the state of Chhattisgarh as we head into the third phase. There is a lot of political buzz taking place in Chhattisgarh, the capital Raipur and all other places. A quick look at some interesting stories there from Chhattisgarh as campaigning is on its last leg in Chhattisgarh ahead of that phase 3 of the general elections. You had the Congress president there, Mallikarjun Kharge, addressing a public meeting in Chhattisgarh today. Kharge first addressed a press conference there in the capital Raipur, then followed it with a public meeting. Well, Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Vishnu Dev Sai today spoke about the election atmosphere in the state and said that the both phases of elections in Chhattisgarh have been completed. Sai threw a jab at the Congress saying that it can see its defeat clearly, and said that in Chhattisgarh itself, in the last 3-4 months, more than 25,000 Congress workers have left the party and joined the BJP. That speaks about the challenge that the opposition has in the state. Finally, at least 9 Naxals, including 2 women, were killed in an encounter with the security personnel in the borders that border Narayanpur and Kanke district in Chhattisgarh on Tuesday, that's today. This is the second major encounter in the region, especially in a fortnight, and the Deputy Chief Minister Vijay Sharma confirmed the recovery of bodies and weapons with search operations still ongoing in the state. Well, three questions that we're looking for answers tonight. First, will this linear contest see twists and turns in Chhattisgarh? Second, can the opposition retain its 2 seats in Chhattisgarh? And finally, our look at the low voter turnout. Is it a cause for political parties like the BJP, the Congress and the BSP in this election fray? Well, I'm going to throw that, door wide open now to welcome both my guests on the show. We've got Ashok Tandon joining us here in the studios to take us through the twists and turns in Chhattisgarh, and also R. Krishna Das once again back with us as we once again look at Chhattisgarh and the significance of Chhattisgarh in this elections. Let me first come to you, Mr. Tandon. How does one see Chhattisgarh? Do you see, first of all, a contest, since it's a it's a linear contest between the Congress and the BJP. Do you see a contest in the first place between the two national parties?
Certainly, because as you also mentioned, it's primarily a two-way contest. Literally a direct contest, although there are smaller parties present. And in the past, we have also seen it is direct contest between the BJP and the Congress. But the fight has not been close. If you look at the statistics of the 2019 election, the margins of victory were huge. But the Congress could manage to win 2 seats. And this time, because Bastar has been separated, that went to the poll in the very first round. And it is, as we know, is the left-wing affected area. So, movement of security forces is very important. And therefore, Bastar went to the poll in the very first round. So, I think this time, traditionally BJP had been winning 10 seats, Congress won. Last time Congress won 2 seats. I think the score may go back to 1-10. 1 Congress and 10 BJP, because Bastar this time, because last time Bastar Congress won because they were in power at that time.
True.
In Chhattisgarh. That is why they could influence the Bastar constituency as we know. So, therefore, this time I personally feel there is because Congress has also fielded its former chief minister Baghel
from Rajnandgaon.
So, that means they are taking the election in Chhattisgarh seriously. But one thing which is going to be very important this time is that against all speculation and forecast, BJP won Chhattisgarh in the assembly election. All pollsters were saying Congress is sure to win Chhattisgarh. They may do something better in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, but it happened the other way. So, 3-0 score, which was in the assembly elections in December, I think that has affected the morale of the Congress in all the 3 states, but particularly in Chhattisgarh.
Okay.
Because they were hoped to be retaining Chhattisgarh, which they could not. So, therefore, I think still, as you also mentioned, BJP has a very definite, clear edge in Chhattisgarh.
Let's get a view there from the ground. We've got R. Krishna Das, who's there joining us from Chhattisgarh. This particular elections, post-November, we just saw the chief minister speaking about how, there's been a sea of supporters, from the opposition camp that's come over. Do you see this to be a keen contest in the first place between the two national parties?
And naturally, despite there is no big issue for the Congress to play with against BJP, a couple of seats are there where a key contest is likely to take place. But what we can analyze from given this last 4 months after the BJP government came to power, there was no big issue for the Congress to take up against the BJP. There was no big movement that was launched against the Mr. Vishnu Dev Sai government in Chhattisgarh. So, the defeat, as I told you earlier also, the defeat that Congress faced in Chhattisgarh, it has totally demoralized this cadre. In Bastar, you see, the Congress president used to be in the fray and he just dropped out. He said he is not going to contest the election. So that was not a normal political practice, but it was part of a groupism that was simmering in the Congress party. So there are lot many issues in which we can say that BJP naturally has an edge. And And Anilji, what matters most is that in Chhattisgarh, in general election, people have always voted for the BJP. So that's the scoring point for the BJP, at least at this moment of time.
Okay. Mr. Tandon, when one takes a look, especially at this particular state, the significance of this particular state in the national politics, how do you see these elections? As compared to other states that went to vote, Chhattisgarh still has good numbers when it comes to voter turnout in the two phases.
See, this state is important because it is a left wing affected area. Lot of people, security forces, people get killed. So from that point of view, it's a challenge for the election commission as well.
Okay.
And they have made elaborate arrangements. Then the state government machinery also has a responsibility to ensure peaceful elections. And we look at the last two rounds which have gone, by and large peaceful, although there is an incident today. But I think Chhattisgarh becomes important from that point of view also. But at the same time, look at the political thing. See, the Chhattisgarh state was carved out of Madhya Pradesh when NDA one was in power. So people do acknowledge that their demand for a separate state was fulfilled by Vajpayee government.
True.
And therefore, it has traditionally been a pro-BJP state. But in between, Congress won in the 2018 election, but BJP is back. So as my colleague was also saying, last election, assembly election defeat has really demoralized their cadres, and they are now trying to revive by putting up their best candidate in the Rajnath Gaon seat. But BJP has also fielded, two very important leaders apart from others, like Brijmohan Agarwal, 7-time MLA, is now fighting from Raipur Lok Sabha seat. Saroj Pandey has been a very popular leader in Chhattisgarh, Vice President, National Vice President. She has been fielded. So BJP is taking no chance. Prime Minister has visited. Prime Minister has addressed rally. Amit Shah has addressed rally. So all the top leadership of BJP has gone there. Congress also is fielding its, the main campaigner like Kharge was there today, and others have also gone. So that makes the contest very keen. But the ground reality is that the demoralization among the Congress cadres post assembly election defeat, I think that is going to make a difference. So I will not be surprised from the traditional 10 BJP, 1 Congress, it may become all the 11 seats going to the BJP.
Okay, all 11 seats going to the BJP. Mr. Das, insurgency, Naxalism, even in this particular fortnight where we've seen elections, we've seen at least 2 instances of it. Do you see, that play a major role, as Chhattisgarh goes to vote in that final phase?
And not exactly, and because you see that Naxalism is confined only to certain pockets in Chhattisgarh, and we cannot generalize it. In the other constituencies, you see, we don't have any influence of left-wing extremism. So in that way, naturally, Bastar is going to have some impact. And since last 5 years, there was no operation going on. So after the BJP government came to power, so this full-scale operation was launched against the Maoist, and you could see the result that is coming out from the dense forest areas of Chhattisgarh. So this was ultimately what I can calculate out of what your observation is, that people could have I think a sense of confidence in this government.
Okay.
Because that could matter in other constituencies also, because Naxalism was at peak during the Congress regime in Chhattisgarh, and since now after the BJP came to power, there was lot many operations taking place in the ground. So people have some confidence in the government as far as security and law and order is concerned. So that could be a positive point for the BJP. People's confidence for retaining and for protecting them, that could be a major issue.
Okay. Mr. Tandon, looking at Chhattisgarh, that's carved out of Madhya Pradesh, and when you put those two together, the seats in Madhya Pradesh, the seats in Chhattisgarh, close to 40 seats. And if, since it's a tough battle there for the opposition, do you feel that, for long, the support that the opposition got from, especially the Hindi heartland, is slowly diminishing, and this time the problem is compounded with the assembly election losses in the two states?
No, it was expected that for the Lok Sabha poll, the India alliance which they have formed should have at least some unifying factors. Now, for instance, there are very smaller parties there in the state, but even they are not part of the India alliance. BSP is contesting separately, whatever impact they can make. But there are others, they have not come to support of the Congress party. I have not seen any statement from any other party, national parties, etc. They supporting Congress in Chhattisgarh. So they have the Chhattisgarh unit has to fight it alone, with the help of course, the national leadership. But it seems that the Congress is fighting Chhattisgarh, in isolation, not in unison with the other partners of the alliance. So that makes things difficult for the Chhattisgarh unit of the Congress party. But Hindi heartland, particularly Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, it has been bipolar fight, and Congress traditionally was quite strong in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan also, even before Chhattisgarh was carved out. They have been ruling Madhya Pradesh. Digvijay Singh ruled for, I think, more than 2 terms. Now, gradually, the party setup, the party network established, this is in a disarray totally, and there has been no strong leadership. The only leadership which Chhattisgarh could get was Bhupesh Baghel, and he delivered as far as the 2018 elections were concerned. That is why perhaps they have fielded him now for the Lok Sabha seat. So let us hope there is a contest in Chhattisgarh, and if it is close contest, that also is good for the health of democracy. But there has to be strong two-party system, at least in the Hindi heartland. That will be seen now in the Lok Sabha election, how Congress fares in Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh.
Okay. Mr. Das, the option of having, the third player in this elections, the BSP, is that a catch-22 situation to get BSP on board, looking at the fact that, their vote stays intact, their votes don't get scattered. So, in the end, anybody forming an alliance is not able to get the best out of it. A living example can be the Samajwadi Party, the fate it met in Uttar Pradesh in 2019.
Anilji, the third party has always played a spoil sport in Chhattisgarh. Right from Vidya Charanji, who floated the local unit of NCP, the party headed by Sharad Pawarji, and it resulted in the defeat of Ajit Jogi. As Ashok sir has already said, there was no prediction in the last election also, but there was some equations. This third party has always played a role in which BJP has always gained. Maybe Ajit Jogi or BSP. So ultimately, whichever the third party is in the fray, it will be BJP that is going to gain out of it.
Okay, one final word from Mr. Tandon. Mr. Tandon, when you look at all the promises, all the guarantees that all players in these elections have done, and looking at the two phases of voting that we have seen, is this a point that the political parties need to introspect? How to get more people to come to vote? With Chhattisgarh having good numbers, it could at least help the national average get a bit better.
Certainly, it is the responsibility of the political parties as well, that they have to motivate people apart from the efforts of the election commission. But the fact remains that when the election is taking place in a very flat situation, there are no emotive issues. There is no, people going to the polling booth with a vengeance, either to oust the ruling party or to bring back the ruling party with a better results. That seems to be missing. So therefore, I will not blame the electorate also, because on the one hand there is a set of electorate who think that in any case the BJP is going to win, Modi is coming back. On the other hand, there is disillusionment even in the anti-Modi camp also, because they are not united. If opposition is not united, what can people do?
Okay, let me get a final word there from Mr. Das. Mr. Das, looking at this particular 7-phase election that we are seeing, 6 phases of this elections come on a Friday, a Saturday or a Monday. Are people both in the urban as well as, especially in the urban areas, looking at this as an extended weekend, giving voting a miss, go out and enjoy as a cause of
concern? May I correct you, only 4 phases. 2 are already gone.
Yeah, both on the, I said
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday
no,
and
you
a
said
Monday.
6 out of 7. No,
Yes.
4 out of 7.
Okay, I'll come back to that. 4 out of 7. Mr. Tandon has corrected me. 4 out of 7.
Okay.
But how would you look at it? Is that a cause? Is this weekend polling day? Is it causing more of a worry for the Election Commission?
Not exactly in Chhattisgarh as far as it's concerned. And right now in Chhattisgarh, many campaigns are going on to propel the electorate to come to the polling booth. And we are, in fact, the trade bodies in Chhattisgarh, they have offered a very attractive discounts for the voters to just show a fingertip and get a huge discount from the businessmen. So I don't think this weekend issue would be there to constrain people from coming to the polling booths.
Okay, we'll leave it there. I appreciate both of you helping us, get this point through, because this is what we generally getting on social media, that elections are happening on the weekend, and that's the big cause of concern that more and more people are staying away. But putting that into perspective is very important, especially for our viewers. We've been doing this, what we call this program called the Great Indian Elections on all weekdays from April 1st. Let's quickly take a sneak look at what's in store for Wednesday night. The smallest state of India, Goa, is ready for polls in one single phase. Union territories, Daman, Diu, along with Dadra and Nagar Haveli, go to polls on May 7th. What will be the issues that resonate in Goa and the Union territories as India decides in 2024? Watch the Great Indian Election at 8:30 p.m. IST only on DD India. Well, that's all we have time for. It's time for me to thank both my guests this evening, Ashok Tandon in the studios, R. Krishna Das joining us from Chhattisgarh, getting us a ground perspective on how these elections could play out. Appreciate both of you joining us on this program, The Great Indian Election. Well, you can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. Good night, stay safe, take care.